Digital Asset Summit in New York is right around the corner. Some of the biggest names in crypto and several major institutions are going to be there. There's a lot of noise in crypto right now, and I think this conference will be pretty high signal. We're doing a live Lightspeed taping with Solana's co-founder Anatoly and Kyle from early Solana investor Multicoin Capital, so you won't want to miss that either. I hope to see you all there, and you can use the code Lightspeed10 for 10% off tickets at checkout. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Lightspeed. I'm Jack Kubinek, hosting alongside Mert Mumtaz. And today we have Bowen and Illia from NEAR. Illia is famous, among other things, for having Jensen Huang touch his arm one time. And also friends of the pod. So thank you guys for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Yep, it's great to be here.
So I just want to set the table for this conversation, which I'm sure we'll get into a lot of tech and that kind of thing. But outside of maybe some spicy Twitter content, I'm a little bit, and I think a lot of our listeners are a little bit unfamiliar with just what NEAR has been up to. I know you guys are often in conversations about AI. You have some interesting approaches to scaling and that sort of thing, but just catch listeners up. Like, what have you been up to, say, the past 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, I can start. The high level is that NEAR, as a blockchain for AI, effectively building out core pieces of infrastructure for what we believe the future will look like. And maybe just to explain, the thesis is that there will not be need for separate apps, separate wallets, separate even chains going forward, right? Because AI is a universal interface through which you can effectively command the reality around you, especially computing, internet, connect to services, etc. And so if you kind of extrapolate the situation right now, right, it already writes code, it can, write interfaces. And so you can, either on the fly or in some ways cached, generate any experience you need for the individual user. You can have your AI go and find the best option for you, right? You don't need to go to Amazon to find what Amazon thinks is good. You can scan literally every factory in the world and find the best option for you. So it's naturally designed for peer-to-peer because your AI now is on your behalf, actually coordinating across all of the different participants in the world. And so you need a very robust network that is able to connect everyone, right? You need a way to find them. You need to pay them. You need a way to host all of this, billions potentially different participants. And obviously you need a blockchain to settle all that and kind of coordinate with others. Now, there's still obviously going to be a ton of blockchains. It's not going to be a single one. So you need to interconnect them effectively into a single blockchain layer, chain abstracted layer. That's what we call. So we've been building a lot of technology to effectively enable that vision. We're showcasing some of this actually in Denver. But yeah, the vision is there will be no wallets. There will be no directly understanding that you're using Solana, NEAR, or Ethereum. You'll just be using things. And it'll not be even different for, I'm ordering food or, deploying into yield farming pool, right? You're just going to be talking to AI. And it will show you it's not just text. It's going to be rich interfaces. It's going to be, a lot of pieces around that. So that's kind of the vision we've been building forward. And to enable that, we have obviously a lot of blockchain improvements where Bowen is working. We have this intent framework that allows to interconnect all the chains and all the liquidity and kind of create this global market. And we have AI to kind of really bring this vision forward.
Got it. So AI and chain abstraction and cross-chain work for the past recent history, let's say. And we have a mutual friend here. And one thing I'm curious about, and I do agree, which is NEAR also, as far as L1 scaling goes, is I think roughly the only L1 that actually has a viable path to scaling via sharding. I am not sure if the others are even trying that anymore. Obviously, Ethereum kind of hinted at it a while back. Solana just doesn't care. Sui and Aptos seem to do a weird mix of Solana and kind of horizontal scaling, but anyways, I will not talk behind unless they're here. And then, but then, so you actually have a very good path for scaling. However, you're also really going multi-chain focused. So as if like one chain wouldn't be able to hold everything. So I want to maybe just hint at that dichotomy because I don't think it's super clear. Before we get there, though, I want to understand how this sharding stuff works. So you guys launched, or at least with some mention of sharding. How's that working? How does it work today? Can you walk us through it?
Yeah, happy to do that. Indeed, as you said, Mert, I think most other blockchains have either just given up on this sharding approach or for whatever reason didn't fully get it to work, or whatever that may be. So for us, yeah, I've been working on this for several years. So launched mainnet in October 2020, but then last year in August, we launched this Lightspeed 2.0, this new design that makes everything fully sharded. So basically, the idea is that every validator tracks at most one shard at a time. And we do this through stateless validation to ensure security. So basically, there's a dichotomy between kind of block producers, chunk producers, and validators. So validators at every block get randomly assigned to some shard, and they validate the state transition. Every block, yes, every block. Okay. They rotate every block through this on-chain randomness beacon, and they validate the state transition by having the state witness. So the state witness is distributed to them by the chunk producers. So a chunk is just a shard block. And they validate that through just the state witness, which contains all the state pieces that is touched during the execution of shard. And yeah, there's a lot more stuff that we can go into that. But this major change we did last year, basically transition towards the stateless validation architecture. It not only gave us the benefit of just having everything fully sharded, but also makes things pretty fast. So before we were struggling with this performance issue of like, once you have large enough state and not everything's in memory, right? You have this problem of like unpredictable latency when you do database read or when you do state read because it's translating to database reads. Now what we do is that we actually hold, we force everyone to hold the entire state in memory. We can do that because on the chunk producer side, we only need to hold the state of one shard, and because we're fully sharded, right? So you kind of can limit how large the state of one shard can be. And then on the validator side, they only receive like a witness every block, so it's quite small. It's only like only contains the state that's touched during the execution of one chunk. So it's relatively small. Everything's in memory. So like all in all the execution happens in memory. I mean, kind of same as what Solana is doing, but in a different way. And yeah, that makes things really fast and also really stable.
And this is all live, functional.
Yeah, it's all live. Yep.
And,
yeah, it's all functional. Yeah.
And how many? So okay, two questions. How many shards? And two, what's the scheme? So for people who don't know, a scheme is like, how do you actually partition these shards? Is it by name? Is it by program, use case, whatever?
Yeah. So today we have 6 shards. Actually, that's a great timing. We are actually just released a new version that's that split 2 shards each into 2 shards. So we will have 8 shards. And it's already live on testnet. I will go live on mainnet next week. So it's 6 shards right now, but next week should be 8 shards. And in terms of scheme, it's split by account. So basically, today it's manually decided. So basically, you can think of the entire range of accounts. It's like on this this interval, and then you kind of split them at the specific points. The split right now is manually down to basically balance each shard in terms of size and gas usage. But in the future, we expect it to be dynamic, right? So the system kind of like calculates where you want to split a shard, and it will do that automatically.
Yeah, just to mention, like the cool thing about this design is that actually, if you want to split, you can split next block.
Yes. We build a 1 block split. So like you can do the sharding in 1 block because it splits among the shard boundary, so it's very fast. It's basically like you look at this trie, and then like because we actually maybe that's a difference. Like we actually maintain the trie for the state, so you can look at the one of the boundaries, and then you can just do the split right there, and it's like a O-login operation, so it's really fast. You can do that in one block.
What's the block time?
1 second, yeah. But we're reducing that. We can talk more about that, but yeah, to 400 milliseconds.
Okay, so it's to all right, to 400 milliseconds from 1 second. And have you done benchmarking on what sort of load you can handle today in terms of CPS?
Yeah, so each shard can handle about like somewhere between 10K and 20K, just like cheapest transactions. But we haven't done like a full scale like benchmark on like, let's say you have like 50 shards, how many you have. We're kind of working on that today, but like even just setting that up is not completely trivial.
Right. So so you should be able, and you should be able to shard basically. I mean, I don't want to say indefinitely, but you can kind of keep going.
Yeah, I think that there is a limit at some point because like you need the coordination, right? You need the higher level coordination between shards. So there is obviously a bottleneck at some point.
Now for a quick word from today's sponsor.
This episode is brought to you by Bonk Bets, the fully permissionless sportsbook built on Solana. Bet with Bonk, Solana, or USDC and get automatic payouts for winners. Every bet that you take earns Bonk Bets points towards cashback, discounts on losses, and more. Lightspeed listeners get 10% back on losses to bet again. Just visit bonkbets.io/Lightspeed or click the link in the show notes. Just a quick disclaimer that exclusions apply and Bonk Bets is not available in all jurisdictions. Thanks to Bonk Bets for making today's episode possible.
Okay, so that brings me to the main question here, which is, so you have a system that works, that shards. The only L1 I think, right? Only L1 that actually has is live and works and functional and people actually looking at it. And in theory, if you can, do, I don't know what you say, like 20K TPS per shard or something. Let's say that's too optimistic. Let's say it's just 2K TPS. Even that with multiple shards is going to be better than any L1 today, which brings me to the question, why isn't this talked about more? It feels like you guys have an L1 that scales, but then we're talking about not that. Help me understand.
Yeah, I think there's two sides of this, right? One is, I think everybody now comes out and says they're scaling, right? And everybody throws a number out from a marketing perspective. And until, as Solana saw, until you actually put like real pressure on the system, like you don't actually know how it's going to behave. We've had obviously like a pretty stable load that's usually more than any other chain except Solana, like on mainnet. But at the same time, the other question is kind of what are the use cases that people are actually using blockchain for right now, right? And that's kind of all defaults to where the tokens are launching, where kind of the casino is going. Now, the way we kind of always designed NEAR has been to abstract the NEAR blockchain itself, right? So NEAR has almost 50 million monthly active users. Most of them don't actually know they use NEAR because they're using it for applications like Sweat and even like Hot Wallet, which is a very much like wallet. You are maybe using other chains now, even though every transaction goes through NEAR. So the idea here is that like NEAR itself is becoming kind of this coordination layer and center for the whole Web3 space. And again, for AI on the other side, and kind of enabling this like experience that we all envisioned, blockchain should be, instead of, okay, I need this specific wallet, I need to top up it with this token, I need to figure out, why is RPC not working and stuff like this, right? Like how do we abstract all of that out and kind of create a very transparent experience?
Yeah, to add more like from a practical point of view, I think just very practically the change will all be there, right? Like, yes, some change die out over the period of time. But like, even let's say like Solana today is pretty successful, right? But it's still like one of the chain. Like it didn't get, we don't see like the one chain really like becoming the default thing that everyone like just like there's only one chain. So like and we think that it will continue being the case in the future, and that's big part of the reason why we're pushing for the chain abstraction thing, right? So it's both like to help abstract away the user experience so that we can actually bring the technology to more users rather than just focusing on like which chain this is. But also it is a way to utilize the block space on NEAR, as Illia just mentioned.
So, Illia, one thing I want to zoom in on there is you mentioned there's like 50 million users on NEAR through its chain abstraction tech. I'm a little wary of like daily active users in crypto because they can be kind of a noisy metric. But to your understanding, I'm curious to just ask what those 50 million users are doing. Like, do you have a sense of what the majority of them are, where they're coming from?
Yeah, I mean, we have few kind of applications that are driving majority of usage. One of them is called Kaikai. It's actually pre-installed into operating system on Oppo, Xiaomi, and a few other manufacturer phones. And it's effectively, I mean, they themselves are like e-commerce, advertising, and kind of like have games. Like it's like a kind of mini super app platform that's embedded into your operating system, and it's actually goes directly from your home screen, from your lock screen. And so they use blockchain for all their payments and loyalty and kind of all of the related stuff, right? And so every user they have has a NEAR account. They just like don't think about it. They just use when they want to pay for something, and they accumulate points as they interact with that, etc. Similar Sweat wallet, right, is kind of the pretty OG walk to earn before what was before Steppen, yeah. And so they had like a pretty massive install base, like 150 million installs on their main app, and so they converted a bunch of them into their Sweat wallet, which is a crypto wallet. And so those users as well, like there's a bunch of engagement there. Again, they don't like in their face, hey, this is NEAR, right? It's more like this is Sweat for them. And so they're interacting with it. We have Hot Wallet, which is started as Telegram wallet, actually launching Chrome extension and the mobile app. It's a wallet that supports, I think, over a dozen chains now. One of them is Telegram Open Network. And so every account, like whenever you create an account in Hot Wallet, is actually a NEAR account that through our chain signatures controls and kind of their technology controls. Other accounts, they have, if you only have money on Solana, for example, and you want to do something on Base, it automatically like pays for gas, etc. Like they solved all of those problems that are very annoying. And again, like all of that is actually happens orchestrated by NEAR blockchain. So a lot of like how we see things expanding is NEAR again sits across all of this and kind of provides this chain abstracted experience to either direct apps or in this coming future to AI to really coordinate both what things are happening on NEAR as well as what things are happening elsewhere. And yeah, to kind of expand on Bowen's side, I think given the incentives right now, right, like people keep launching new networks keep investing in more apps. People want to use those apps, right? So like it makes sense to really unlock for everyone who's using this, who's using Web3 to actually access those. And so that's really kind of the mindset here is not like, hey, you need to be in our tribe and only then like you can be successful versus like, no, you actually can access all Web3. Like let's actually win together, and in turn also abstract kind of like all of the complexity of every individual chain.
So let's play devil's advocate because why not? So, okay, there's a world where everybody wins and there's a world where nobody wins because nobody actually takes off because it just is like everybody's just doing stuff, but nothing is actually taking off. There seems to be one use case that's kind of the casino. Obviously not a fan, but like that is what it is. What that's revealed though is kind of the fee capture and the value capture differences between some of these architectures, where like Solana seems to be making quite a bit of income from priority fees. And so you have NEAR, which it seems like it's going to be pretty scalable. And so you said 400 millisecond block times in the future, and then something like 20K TPS per shard, ideally. That's really good. And so you have value, you have room for strong value capture, right? And obviously incentivized, because those shards just don't run themselves. You need validators, and those validators need money and all this. On the other hand, with things like the intents, which I want to now talk about, how does that work? Where does the execution happen? How does the value accrue to NEAR if it does?
Yeah, so we can talk a bit about that. So there is basically a smart contract that does the settlement. So how it works is that, let's say you're a user in your wallet, you want to swap Solana for USDC, and then there's like a network of solvers gets plugged in, and they give you codes, and let's say you select the best code, and then you sign the message, and then basically sends to the blockchain, and then it basically calls a specific method in the smart contract called execute, and then it settles the intents there. So basically the settlement happens on chain, even though the kind of the code, the RFQ happens off chain. And the value capture there is that this protocol, the smart contract, basically charges a commission fee from each trade, which is similar to all like all other how all other DeFi stuff works. And the difference here is though that is this thing is very closely connected to the protocol, to NEAR in general, meaning that the plan is to have to use to automatically swap that commission fee back into NEAR and burn it, so that it creates this incentive structure that basically meaning that you can almost think of this thing as being part of the NEAR protocol and how it captures value.
And it is live today, I believe. Well, you have a few versions live. I believe you have a few. One of them is SolSwap, solswap.org, maybe. What is it called?
Yeah,
yes, solswap.org. So that was pretty cool.
So the protocol itself is generic, right? It works actually with any cryptographic wallet and with any chain that, solvers support. And then you can build a front end effectively. Front ends are actually open source. And so you can build your own front end. You can embed it into existing wallet. You can embed it into existing Web2 application as well. And people can effectively start trading. So think of this as this is a back end, like NEAR became a back end for like a decentralized exchange as well. And you can, embed that into any application or front end.
How does this differ from like all the other cross-chain dexes and assume I'm just somebody who trades on Binance, right? And I'm on chain now, and perhaps I use Jupiter sometimes. Perhaps I use Uniswap sometimes. This is obviously multi-chain, but how does that multi-chain actually work without the compromises that would generally come with it? And I don't mean UX, because it seems like you guys did a good job with UX, but I mean security. And I believe you have something like the concept is called OmniBridge, right?
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep. So basically, we build this pretty complex infrastructure to power it. So OmniBridge is kind of this extension of Rainbow Bridge that we built before, which is only between Ethereum and NEAR. We're now extending it to multi-chain that supports Solana, Base, Arbitrum, and going to add more chain support and so on. So how it works is roughly that it leverages this MPC network that we're also building separately, so that it allows every NEAR smart contract to sign transactions that can be executed on other chains. So basically, a NEAR smart contract have derivation addresses on a lot of other chains, depending on the cryptography support. So if it's ECDSA's account key, then it has ECDSA account derivation address, or it's EDDSA derivation address. And then when you need to do bridge or to do some other kind of cross-chain stuff, like this smart contract literally signs, let's say, a Solana transaction, and just like some relayer takes that thing and go and execute on Solana. So it's it provides this kind of a new experience for bridging that's going to be basically faster and also I would say like more robust, easier to maintain, because traditional with bridging, like you like usually it's some kind of like proof that you submit to the other chain about this chain, but this thing is very complex and it's difficult to maintain. And with MPC it's faster and also kind of easier to maintain. Basically, delegate the complexity to the MPC part.
Who are the signers?
Yeah, so basically it's a decentralized network of signers. So today there's just like professional entities running the MPC node. And we're in the process of getting to more operators, and we want to make sure this is like a really decentralized network of signers. And in the future, we may even integrate that into NEAR protocol itself if it gets to that point.
I want to talk about value capture, maybe more in terms of mind share. So, Illia, you're well respected for your work in AI. You were kind of an early AI researcher. You worked at Google before NEAR on some AI stuff, I believe. Recently in crypto, there's been this big quote unquote AI narrative with basically Twitter bots making my replies unusable. There were a lot of meme coins that got a lot of traction. There's also some like maybe more serious stuff like I don't know, on-chain agent swarms or whatever that are raising lots of money. They're like putting out meme coins that are getting lots of investment. I don't know if NEAR has been as much of a player in that, like, call it October to January little meme coin AI craze. So, I mean, I guess like this is a two-part question, but first, was there any benefit? Did we get anything out of that whole, I don't know, GOAT, fart coin, AI 16Z era? And secondly, how is NEAR trying to like capture and bring value back to the protocol based on y'all's sort of AI expertise?
Yeah, I mean, have we gotten anything? You mean as a space from? I'm sure there's some people who've gotten some money out of this. Yeah, I mean, it's like on one side that was just an extension of the existing casino, right? And it's like kind of the meme was AI, and so AI and meme was double that. I think for a quick second it was exciting to see like something that's like plausibly interesting, posting, trying to outpost Mert on Twitter. AXBT maybe still more better shit posters than Mert. I don't know. Depends on depends on the day. But yeah, I mean, I think the way I have this like progression, right? It starts with like schizo and shit posting. Then it goes into like informative, like AXBT agents, and then I think we're starting to actually come into the age of useful agents. And so and then I think the final stage will be I call them complete, like where agent actually go and do stuff on your behalf, and you don't need to like babysit them. Right. So that's like going to be a progression. I think the space got definitely like attention, although it's a very bipolar from AI community, because there's some people like, oh, cool, there's a way to raise money with this, approach of like just launching a meme coin and kind of seeing this. Obviously, some people have regretted it massively after doing that, just because like the incentives for those meme coins are completely screwed, and like the people who actually buy your coin and result in like initially are all effectively just there to speculate, and so you don't have like a long-term base either. And then so I think like there's like kind of mixed of like, hey, yes, crypto is a capital formation market for AI kind of developers. On the other side, obviously like with last months of like scams and rug pulls and everything, I think people are also maybe more wary about it. On the other side, I think we've been focused directly on how do we build useful agents. So everything from kind of on-chain, actual useful, like executing actions for you, to actually doing things in the real world, right? And you can imagine, how do I buy stuff? How does, it actually plans and executes a plan? I want to plan a trip to Denver for a week. It's like, okay, here's what you need to know, here's what you need to book, right? And it goes and books it for you, right? And executes this. So, and then like all of this is in preparation for, again, what I call complete agents, where we'll have like actual reinforcement learning running in a loop where it actually improves over time based on feedback and based on kind of its understanding of where it worked. So yeah, I mean, we maybe over-focused on building useful stuff. But from our perspective, kind of this meme games, they're important. They create attention loops, but they're all short term, and so we are here for long term and gonna continue building. And so that's why we're building kind of this foundational technology like intents that allow to effectively move value, not just in crypto. Actually, intents will support fiat, they will support real world assets as well. And so you will the goal is to actually support together with AI agents to support, like, you should be able to buy real estate, right, by issuing an intent. And the way it will satisfy it will be by finding somebody who sells an apartment and finding somebody who will give you a mortgage, and combining those things as like a single intent execution. So that's kind of the long-term vision of this, like moving the global market, like not just crypto market with ups and downs, but actual global market of trillions and tens of trillions of dollars to use this technology. And the only way to do that is actually to give them an interface that handles disputes, handles non-delivery, handles like a lot of other cases that normal kind of basic blockchain stuff doesn't. And so that's kind of where we focused on, like, how do we bring all like global economy, how do we bring users in such a way that they don't know about individual blockchain details. And the value accrual comes from obviously transaction fees, but also intents themselves. They take a percentage from the settled value. The AI as well has like a number of ways to leverage NEAR tokens. So there's kind of a number of, the way I think of tokens in general is like it's a commodity that is used across different use cases, right? And kind of the more use cases you have around this commodity, the more valuable it becomes, because it kind of gets synced in various ways for these use cases, right? Solana's, obviously massive run up, like, because it, like, one of the biggest use cases is using it in pair with meme coins. But for longer term, how do we actually enable that through creating value, through actually adding value to the existing economy?
Cool. Hit me up when you guys support buying watches with intents.
Just spin it up just for you.
Thank you.
I saw you planning to sell your watches, so maybe we can get you to start. You will be the solver.
Have you seen the market?
You can buy and sell watches from yourself.
Yeah.
Now for a quick word from today's sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by TurboTax Calculator. Accurate crypto taxes, no guesswork. Get accurate CPA-endorsed tax reports with full support for IRS rules. With more than 3,000 integrations, TurboTax Calculator supports all of your wallets, exchanges, and on-chain activity. And you can import directly to TurboTax or H&R Block, or share securely with your accountant. You can use our exclusive discount code BW2025 to enjoy 30% off all paid TurboTax Calculator plans. That's BW2025 for 30% off.
This episode is brought to you by Bonk Bets, the fully permissionless sportsbook built on Solana. Bet with Bonk, Solana, or USDC and get automatic payouts for winners. Every bet that you take earns Bonk Bets points towards cashback, discounts on losses, and more. Lightspeed listeners get 10% back on losses to bet again. Just visit bonkbets.io/Lightspeed or click the link in the show notes. Just a quick disclaimer that exclusions apply, and Bonk Bets is not available in all jurisdictions. Thanks to Bonk Bets for making today's episode possible.
But by the way, we kind of did Illia some injustice there. Not just a researcher, I think one of the original authors of the original Transformer paper. So I will shill him. So you're welcome. And I'm expecting my referral link still for SoulSwap. Okay, so we were also talking about before the show along this AI go-to-market, let's say, or strategy for the chain. shade agents, which seem like some sort of enshrined ephemeral roll-up things. What are they? How do they work?
Yeah, so one of the like general challenges I think with Web3 space has been that we're like, cool, I have this amazing idea how to do something on chain, like with Web3, with blockchain. But then like when you actually try and go like build that into a smart contract, it becomes like a super complex process. And like not like, for example, NEAR is a home for the most complex smart contracts out there. Like we're running EVM, like the full EVM as a smart contract on NEAR. So we have very little limitations, but still you cannot go and just call, an HTTP call or do crunching numbers for, an hour to do something. So you cannot have like, a scalable database that you can put and fetch data from at ease. So like a lot of use cases I've done a lot of hackathon judging and like there's a lot of great ideas, but they don't go anywhere because it's actually really hard to go from like a smart contract to like a really bottle-proof, like an idea to a bottle-proof smart contracts. And so what we've been building with AI and kind of we realized we can just generalize that is effectively a verifiable and confidential coprocessor, right? It's a cloud of nodes that can execute arbitrary code, including machine learning, LLM inference, etc., in a verifiable way, right? You have a guarantee that this code was executed on this data, and you actually have a very interesting guarantee that only this code was executed, which nobody else gives you. And this is using hardware, so-called trusted execution environments, which are now available, and people are starting to use them broadly. And now the cool thing is, because NEAR is asynchronous, so every single call between smart contracts is already done kind of not within the same atomic transaction, but effectively as message passing between different kind of actors in the system. You can actually message pass into this verifiable cloud, right? You can say, hey, just to give a very specific example, I'm writing a UMA-like market resolution for Polymarket, and when the time elapsed, I want to go check whitehouse.gov website to see who is the president now. And like to do that now, you effectively building like a whole host of humans who are going to be reporting, a whole host of game theory to make sure that this is like doesn't escalate. In the new model, your smart contract will literally say, hey, go run an AI model that will fetch data from whitehouse.gov, read the website, find who's the president, and push it back and restore this exact transaction to continue executing, for example, to resolve the market on Polymarket. So in the same transaction, you actually call into this, we call it confidential cloud, decentralized confidential cloud, and execute arbitrary computation. There can be arbitrary state as well stored. So there can be like a massive database of, storing some private information on which you compute. And then you resolve back the transaction executed on chain. So give you another example, you're building an index fund. You want to rebalance it based on, who is yapping more today on Kaito leaderboard or share of voice of Kaito leaderboard, right? Again, you can call it out, do all the computation, prepare all the intents, by the way, as well there, and then settle intents to rebalance your portfolio, right? So, which also, by the way, removes all the MEV and other problems of, building index funds on chains. So it actually solves a number of problems, like how to deal with confidential data inside smart contracts, how to execute a way more complex computations, how to run arbitrary software, and how to do actions without MEV and without kind of problems if you loop back into the intent infrastructure.
Yeah, so one thing I want to add here is that the asynchronous nature of NEAR's execution actually helps in this case. So like generally, like people want like synchronous execution, so like you can do all like all sorts of stuff in DeFi. But here, like because we like our runtime is by nature asynchronous, like and we build this feature allows you to pause an execution and go and call something like off chain, and then like later submit back on chain and resume the execution. And this is already basically like just like similar to the experience you already have. So like people are like, don't really get bothered by it. Like I suspect if the same thing gets built into like, for example, Solana or like Ethereum, then like it gets very weird. Like for at least for people who are used to that kind of like synchronous experience.
Yeah. Can you expand a little bit on trusted execution environments? Because this is something that I've been seeing more talk about out there, but maybe not as much in like the Solana world. So what are they? What are some of the trade-offs, I guess, and like why do you favor using them?
It's basically this hardware that has this key like embedded in it, and it can sign on the it has this thing called like measurements. Basically, like it's a digest of the program and its state, and it can sign on this thing, and you can verify. Now the down kind of like the historically what people have been criticizing about the thing is that it's more like centralized, right? So the way you verify this is different than like verifying, like say a ZK snark, where you literally just do some math and you verify. The way you verify is you go to actually, let's say we're talking about TDX, right? So this is like Intel manufactured TE. Then the way you verify is that you actually go to some Intel server, and then you verify the certificate against this database, and then you say, okay, that this is correct. Now people are like kind of removing, like gradually removing the level of trust, right? So instead of doing that, what you can do is you can literally take the database that Intel published, you put it on chain, and now in order to verify this at the station, what you can do is basically you can just call into the smart contract on chain, and do the signature verification that the certificate indeed matched some record in the database. And we have already built this for NEAR, and there are people like Automata building this for Ethereum. So I think it is not as decentralized, or like maybe not on the same level of trustlessness as, let's say, like like blockchains in general. But I think for like a lot of stuff, you don't need that level of trustlessness, right? In general, like it offers a very good level of security with very low overhead.
Yeah, to give you some numbers right now, ZKML, like if you try to prove AI with ZK, is like 100 to 10,000 times overhead. If you try to just like run like AI in a consensus, is like, how many nodes you have, that's your overhead. So at least, 30, maybe 100x on already something that's expensive. With trusted execution environments, which H100s, so GPUs support, you get 5 to 7% overhead.
We have talked about sharding, scaling, intense cross-chain stuff, AI, Sweatcoin. Is it Sweatcoin? Yeah. And now confidential compute or cloud, confidential cloud. So a lot of stuff, a lot of cool stuff and useful. However, I'm sure you get this a lot. When I think of Bitcoin, I think of, or I'm supposed to think of digital gold. When I think of Solana, I'm supposed to think of NASDAQ. When I think of NEAR, what should I think about?
I mean, it is blockchain for AI, right? Because AI is going to be everything.
And the sharding is an implementation detail to get to AI scale.
Yep. Yeah. So I think like Illia likes to talk about like very high level vision, and talk about like the kind of the how the world is going to change for the humanity for the next 10 to 20 years. But I like to think more in terms of like practical stuff. Like I do believe that we are going to like a world where like AI will be like the central of like the center of your life, right? Everything you do, like whether it's like browsing the internet or like buying stuff, it will be through AI. But like there has to be some way for it to both have truly autonomous like AI agents that can act, can actually like control assets, and like can do stuff, can like spend those assets, can manage those assets, but also that there needs to be something that coordinate like between those AI agents and like actually coordinate with the settlement. And if you think about like how you're actually going to achieve this, just like with any technology, like if you build something that does that, I think it's like effectively like a blockchain. And that's why we believe that it's important that some blockchain or like blockchains in general will play this role And basically, we're thinking about how to build the best platform that both enable you to host billions of AI agents without problems, but also provide a great experience for people who are behind those AI agents or interacting with those AI agents.
Yeah, that does make a better picture, and hopefully the audience as well. Maybe switching gears a little bit, what do you guys think of? Because you guys do things quite differently than everybody else, it seems, at least from my perspective. What do you think of the rest of the market today? All these L2s and L3s and forks and all this. What do you think? How do you reason about it?
There's few aspects, right? One is there has been immense incentives to launch new chains, be that new like layer 1, layer 2, right? Like there was kind of a premium on the ecosystem. I think as with anything, there is effectively a Cambrian explosion of these chains, and then it kind of all dies out and converges to a few, right? And that we've clearly seen that with layer ones, although there's few more popping out here and there, but 2017, 2018, there was 50 layer ones launching or something. And similar thing happened with layer twos, right? It's kind of a wave as well. I think there is use cases where you can have a very specialized chain for a specific use case, for a very specific thing, right? You customized a bunch of stuff. It's a very rare use case. It's actually hard to come up with that, for the cost that it incurs to build that. But in those cases, you want to make sure that, again, things are chain abstracted. People don't need to think how that's done. There is a reason why, for example, some of those ecosystems will be, merging one way or another, or dying out or merging one way or another as time progresses, just because they have something interesting, but they cannot survive on its own, right? And there's a non-zero cost to maintain that. One of the things that NEAR has is actually this project called Aurora, which offers effectively a way to run your own quote-unquote chain with a lot of customization on top of NEAR, right? So your cost of maintenance is way lower because you don't need to do anything, and you get the full EVM with your own modifications that you need, right? Custom fee tokens, maybe whitelist, who can participate, etc. And so you can actually imagine lending all of the existing layer twos into this kind of platform, right? They can all become just Aurora instances on NEAR, and their cost of operation will go down. They'll get a decentralized sequencer automatically. They'll get all the indexing, all the other bridging kind of interconnectivity from that as well. So I think there is while there was a lot of VC funding to effectively fund kind of the proliferation of infrastructure, we've seen that as presumably VC funding will switch to fund more an actual application revenue generating use cases. We'll see some of that convergence on the infrastructure side. But again, from the user side, how do we abstract it out? How do we make it simpler, independently of where that infrastructure lies?
Well, I guess I'll just give a hot take here. I don't do that very often, but do it for the sake of this podcast. I think Ethereum was executing on this 2.0 or whatever that is called, this roadmap for a while, I think until 2020 maybe, when they switched to this rollup centric roadmap. I think that move helped them in the short term in terms of actually resolving the kind of the scalability problem, getting you can actually run you have more block space, you can run more applications and so on. But it seems looking from right now, it's hurting them in the longer term, because it's really hard to solve this alignment problem when it's just the incentives are not naturally not aligned. All those L2s have their own tokens, and it's really hard to understand how that ties back into the ETH token itself. And not only that, this composability problem is still like unresolved, and it's like people don't understand how to best resolve them. Precisely because like those all those L2s, like they start fragmenting the user experience because they're not enshrined by the L1. So you have this problem, like even if you want to bridge between two L2s, it takes like 30 minutes, and like everyone gets frustrated by that. So yeah, that's my hot take.
Nice.
So the answer is Ethereum should just take NEAR because it's Ethereum 2 implemented. Literally everything they were describing in 2018, 2019, like NEAR at this point has. And you can blend all the layer 2s on top.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I have 2 minutes left, so I'm going to ask 2 last questions very quick. One, in the next 6 months, what should people look out for from NEAR, right? When I'm scrolling the timeline, what do you want me to look out for? What do you want me to be primed for? And then 2, was the NEAR interns stream real or was it planned? Because it was a good stunt. If it was a stunt.
Thank you for asking the questions that matter, Mert.
As far as I know, it wasn't planned, but and it was an accident.
Fascinating. Okay, then tell me what should I look for? What are you excited for?
Well, I mean, on my side, yeah, definitely like this better scalability and much lower latency. Talk about like 400 millisecond blocks coming up and getting to a lot more shards. But also what people will be able to do is intense, just like trading multi-chain assets and even expansion to real world assets, not necessarily just digital ones, through potentially the use of AI agents.
Yeah, maybe we'll get that watch is going for Mert for intense. That's what you should look out for. Yeah,
I'd actually use that.
Affected. Yeah, I think just like more interesting use cases as well. So first of all, we have a ton of chain signature applications coming. So a lot of Bitcoin lending, XRP lending, prime brokerage. So a ton of people actually use this technology to build kind of multi-chain applications now that can use assets from different chains. And you can very easily go, for example, deposit Bitcoin and use Pump.Fun or Hyperliquid without even knowing which chains they're on, or like knowing which base token you need, etc. And same on wallet side, like Hot. Really excited kind of to see that. And then on the AI agents, kind of really packaging all of this together, right? Making both kind of more sophisticated use cases where, again, like, you can imagine like for example, you're saying something Mert controversial, and I can call you out, and this automatically create a market for us to bet on. That will market will create by AI, and then will get resolved by AI, right? So like you can all of that done fully autonomously, like by agents effectively picking up Twitter and executing. So things like that, like actually interesting use cases, like putting Web3 forward and really linking things into our real life.
Cool. Awesome. That's all I got. Jack?
Yeah, thank y'all for coming on the show. It's been a lot of fun. Very interesting to get to catch up with you guys, I guess a year after you last came on. So thanks for taking the time and best of luck.
Yep, thanks for having us.
All right, take care, y'all.